Sherry Fletcher, and we are in the home of Gayle Middleton, and we also have his daughter Barbara, who is now living in Texas, and we will interview Gayle about a longtime resident of Sierra County, and this interview, along with many others, will honor all of our individuals who have lived in our county for 50, 60 some years. Also, we have Jay Hopkins behind the camera, and Ann Welburn is on the wings to throw in any questions that may be needed. So we're ready. Okay. Good morning, Gayle.
Good morning.
And good morning, Barbara. We have some questions to ask you, and for the listeners, Barbara will sometimes help out if we have a lapse of memory, which we all do, and I certainly do when we're on the camera. So we'll start out with Gayle. Tell us, who were your parents, and do you know any history of your parents about where they came from?
Mostly from Texas. Here's my mom and dad.
Uh-huh. Okay.
That's my mom and dad. This is Ruth's mom and dad.
And do you know
they
that...
They come... well, my mom comes from over in the east part by Otis, where she was born, I think. Over by Carlsbad. Mm-hmm. And then my dad was born in Texas, and he come over here to Pinon about 1917, something like that. And then they come to Hope, and that's where they met.
In Hope, New Mexico.
Hope.
And you were born in...
Hope.
In Hope, and what year were you born?
21.
Okay, what do you remember in those early years in Hope? Is that over there on the Eastern Plains?
It's west of Artesia, about 20 miles.
Pretty close to Texas.
No, well, yeah, I guess 200 or 300, couple of hundred miles or something. It's not right close, pretty close. Yeah, that's close enough.
Okay. Do you have have you ever done your history to talk about where they came from Texas? I mean, your grandparents or great-grandparents?
My parents come from, my mom come from over there, where she was born by Carlsbad. And my dad come from, we're by Loughborough.
Well, the Middletons come from England.
Yeah, but not that far back. We're just talking about, you're talking about just the last generation or something.
No, we're talking about where, if you've done any of your research, did they come from
I don't do that kind of stuff.
Went from England to Barbados, and then South Carolina, and then Alabama and Texas.
Wow. Barbados.
Mexico.
Amazing. Great. So you've done some research, haven't you, Barbara? Mm-hmm. That's great. When they left out of eastern New Mexico, then what brought them to Hot Springs?
Well, they had some goat ranch up at Pinon, and had a big rain and grounded most of their goats and stuff, and so they just, I think that's what happened. They just come down there to get started over again, I think.
About what year was that?
In about 18, I guess 19. They come to Pinon, I think in 17, but they were just there a year or two, and then they decided to better move on downtown. Daddy come down there and worked on cars and stuff. We didn't have many cars those days, but worked in a garage or something.
Was that here in Hot Springs?
No, I'm talking about Hope.
In Hope, okay.
Before we come here.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was in 18, before Mom and him married, got acquainted. And they married in 20. And I was born in 21. I had another brother, daddy to this boy that you just saw a while ago. He's dead now, but he was born in 20. I was born in 21. He was born in 22. Mm-hmm. Then my sister come along in 24, early 24. So they're pretty close together there.
And so, at that point in time, after, for whatever reason, whether it was the flood or whatever, then they chose Hot Springs. Do you know why they chose Hot Springs?
He had a job somebody, our old preacher, Hope, started out handling notions and stuff like that you go to grocery stores and put on shelves for groceries. And he did that, and he traveled on this part of it from here to, I don't think anything in Albuquerque, but Socorro and that circle around Deming and back around the crew system here. And he did that for a couple of years. And then the war come along, and shortage of gas. They couldn't have enough gas to go those trips, so they had to get it on there, do something else. So he started to be a carpenter, something like that.
And this was in what, the
In the early 30s,
early, okay.
late 20s and the early 30s.
And that was heading right into, did he ever work on the CCC or any WPA projects that were available then?
WPA worked some of them once in a while, I guess. But the CCCs, no, we didn't know what that was over there.
Yeah. And when they moved here at that time, and he was doing his potion run here, did he work at any of the CCC or the WPA works here in Hot Springs?
He might have worked on some of the WPA work, not very much, mostly on his own.
So,
What was that hotel that he helped build?
Buena Vista,
Charles, wasn't it?
Charles Apartments. He built that when I come home from the Army. He was working there when I come home from the Army as a carpenter.
on the Charles, and wasn't it Charles Lockhart that was building that?
I think so.
Yeah, and that is in the historical Bath District nomination. The Charles was one of the premier building structures for the early car courts. It was
a pretty nice building when they built it. I mean, it was for us. Those days, it's pretty